Good morning, students. I am Riya Sinha, your assistant teacher. Today, we are going to continue our fifth chapter of civics, that is judiciary. In the previous class, we have discussed about the role of the judiciary, in which we have learned that its major function is to dispute resolution, judicial review, and upholding the law and enforcing fundamental rights. Then we came to know what is an independent judiciary, in which uh, we learned that the control that the politician holds over the judge do not allow for the judge to take an independent decision. And for all these kind of things, judiciary has given the right to keep all the judgment individually. No one can interfere in it. It is a separation of power in the form of independence. So it allows the courts to play a central role in ensuring that there is no misuse of power by the legislature and the executive, and it also plays a crucial role in protecting the fundamental rights of citizens. So our next topic is, what is the structure of courts in India? So there are mainly three different levels of courts in our country, and there are several courts at the lower level, while there is only one at the apex level or uppermost level. The courts that most people interact with, what are called subordinate or district court, in which uh, some of the people which is having any kind of issue, they usually used to go there. These are usually at the district or tehsil level or in towns, and they hear many kinds of cases. Each state is divided into districts that are presided over by a district judge. Then each state has a high court also, which is the highest court of that state. At district level, there is district court. After that, in each state, there is high court, which is the highest court of that state. Then at the top is the Supreme Court, that is located in New Delhi and is presided over by the Chief Justice of India. The decision made by the Supreme Court are binding on all other courts in India. Now, there is a question, are these different levels of court connected to each other? Obviously, yes, they are connected to each other. In India, we have an integrated judicial system, meaning that the decisions made by higher courts are binding on the lower courts. So, another way to understand this integration is through the appellate system that exists in India. This means that a person can appeal to a higher court if they believe that the judgment passed by the lower court is not just. But in case if that particular person is not satisfied with the judgment given by the higher court, then they are not able to go anywhere or appeal anywhere. They can go only in Supreme Court further, otherwise they have to go with the verdict whatever has given from that particular court. Now this is appellate system which exists in India, which means that a person can appeal to a higher court if they believe that the judgment passed by the lower court is not just. So now let us understand what we mean by the appellate system by tracking a case. State Delhi administration versus Lakshman Kumar and others, from the lower court to the Supreme Court. So in February 1980, Lakshman Kumar married 20-year-old Sudha Goel, and they lived in a flat in Delhi with Lakshman's brother and their families. Then on 2nd December 1980, Sudha died in hospital due to burns. When she died, her family filed a case in court. When this case was heard in the trial court, Four of her neighbors were called in as witnesses. They stated that on the night of December 1, that is 1st December, they had heard Sudha scream and had forced their way into Lakshman's flat. There they saw Sudha standing with her sari in flames. They extinguished the fire by wrapping Sudha in a gunny bag and a blanket. Sudha told them that her mother-in-law Shakuntala had poured kerosene on her, that her husband Lakshman had lit the fire, and during the trial, members of Sudha's family and a neighbor stated that Sudha had been subjected to torture by her in-laws and that they were demanding more cash, a scooter, and a fridge on the birth of the first child. So, as a part of their defense, Lakshman and his mother stated that Sudha's sari had accidentally caught fire while she was heating milk. So, on the basis of this and other evidence, the trial court convicted Lakshman, his mother Shakuntala, and his brother in law Subhash Chandra and sentenced all three of them to death. Then, again in November 1983, the three accused went to the higher court to appeal against the verdict of the trial court because we are having appellate system. So, they went to High Court. The High Court, after hearing the arguments of all the lawyers, decided that Sudha had died due to an accidental fire caused by the kerosene stove. So Lakshman, Shakuntala, and Subhash Chandra, who is the brother-in-law, acquitted. So you may remember the essay on the women's movement, which is given in your book of class 7, or you might know, I don't know, but you read about that how in the 1980s women's group across the country spoke out against dowry deaths. So they protested against the failure of courts to bring these cases to justice. The above High Court judgment deeply troubled women and they held demonstration and filed a separate appeal against the High Court decision in the Supreme Court through the Indian Federation of Women's Lawyers. So in 1985, the Supreme Court heard this appeal against the acquittal of Lakshman and the two members of his family. The Supreme Court heard the arguments of the lawyers and reached a decision that was different from that of the High Court. They found Lakshman and his mother guilty but acquitted the brother-in-law Subhash because they did not have enough evidence against him. So the Supreme Court decided to send the accused to prison for life. The case which we have discussed right now, that is dowry death falls. So within what is considered a crime against society and is a violation of criminal law. So in addition to criminal law, the legal system also deals with the civil law cases like against domestic violence. Now we will discuss about the differences between criminal and civil law. See the first point in the criminal law section. It deals with conducts or acts that the law defines as offenses like theft, harassing a woman to bring more dowry, murder, etc. In civil law, it deals any harm or injury to rights of individuals like disputes relating to sale of land, purchase of goods, rent matters, divorce cases, etc. Or any family related matter can also come in civil law. Second point of difference is criminal law usually begins with the lodging of an first information report with the police who investigate the crime, after which a case is filed in the court. But unlike criminal law, civil law can be filed with a simple petition which is relevant in the relevant court by the affected party only, and in a rent matter either the landlord or tenant can file a case. Again, in criminal law, if someone found guilty, the accused can be sent to jail and also fined. In civil law, if the court gives the specific relief asked for, and like for instance, in a case between a landlord and a tenant, the court can order the flat to be vacated and pending rent to be paid, like that. So there is no any harsh punishment in civil law, in civil cases. Now, next topic. Does everyone have access to the courts? See, this is the most important question of our democratic system of India mainly. So, in principle, all citizens of India can access the court in this country. This implies that every citizen has a right to justice through the courts. As we read earlier, the courts play a very significant role in protecting our fundamental rights. If any citizen believes that their rights are being violated, then they can approach the court for justice to be done. While the courts are available for all, in reality, access to courts has always been difficult for a vast majority of the poor in India. Legal procedures involve a lot of money and paperwork as well as take up a lot of time. So, for a poor person who cannot read and whose family depends on daily wage, the idea of going to court to get justice often seems remote to them. So, in response to this, the Supreme Court in early 1980s devised a mechanism of public interest litigation, which is also known as PIL, to increase the access to justice. It allowed any individual or organization to file a PIL in the High Court or the Supreme Court on behalf of those whose rights were being violated. So, in this also the legal process was greatly simplified, and even a letter or telegram addressed to the Supreme Court or the High Court could be treated as a PIL. In the early years, PIL was used to secure justice on a large number of issues such as rescuing bonded laborers from inhuman work conditions and securing the release of prisoners in Bihar who had been kept in jail even after their punishment term was complete. So, PIL increased or allowed any individual or organization to demand justice for themselves. Legal process was greatly simplified by this because a person can send a single letter or telegram by addressing to the Supreme Court or the High Court, and it will be treated as same. So for the common person, access to court is access to justice. The court exercises a crucial role in interpreting the fundamental rights of citizens. So Article 21 of the Constitution on the right to life to include the right to food also. They therefore ordered the state to take steps to provide food for all, including the midday meal scheme. So, like that, time to time, according to the demands of the citizen, our judicial system can do some amendments as the demand comes. However, there are also court judgments that people believe the work against the best interest of the common person. For example, activists who work on issues concerning the right to shelter and housing for the poor believe that the recent judgments on evictions are a far cry from earlier judgments. While recent judgments tend to view the slum dweller as an encroacher in the city, earlier judgments had tried to protect the livelihoods of slum to justice is the inordinately long number of years that courts take to hear a case. So the phrase justice delayed is justice denied is often used to characterize this extended time period that courts take. Obviously, because we are having a lot of issues to hear. A number of population is there who is having different kind of issues, and the particular court have a limited time period. However, in spite of this, there is no denying that the judiciary has played a crucial role in democratic India, serving as a check on the powers of the executive and the legislature, as well as in protecting the fundamental rights of citizens. The members of the Constituent Assembly had quite correctly envisioned a system of courts with an independent judiciary as a key feature of our democracy. Okay, now we have completed the explanation of this chapter. Hope you all understood the cover topic well. So, thank you and have a nice day.